the less pressure it's been, honestly. You work your tail off all summer. You train for these moments to where if you fail, you fail. Live with the results.
Nope. I ain't going with that.
I'm with you, Shaq.
If you fail, you can't fail. The way Philly played, even though they failed, if you play hard and play with a lot of effort, that's not a failure. Like you played hard, but if you go out there and go and get 15 points when you're 2 for 15, nah, I ain't living with that. Nah, that's not failing. That's worse than failing. That's not stepping up when you're supposed to be the superstar of the team.
I always tell people you can lose, but you got to compete.
Got to compete.
Yeah, you got to compete. I mean, I listen. I don't judge.
I lost a lot, but I competed.
But I can honestly say, and I'm not get off my lawn. I ain't never quit. I'm not
saying he quit.
I'm not saying he quit, but I can say I can look myself in the mirror and say I ain't never quit on one of my teams.
But Ernie,
and I've lost, but I ain't never quit.
When you're that guy.
Well, hello back to you, Serbia. Happy Monday to Dora.
Holy moly, give that bowling
off right there. Welcome to the King's Court Live. Ryan and Sacktown here with you. Lots to talk about today. I could run down. I've got about 2 hours of content, but I want to hear from all of you. I want to hear what you want to talk about. Do you guys want to talk about what happened over the weekend with the NBA? How about the Timberwolves knocking off the Nuggets? Is the Ant-Man for real? It's been a storyline here on the show. You heard Charles Barkley and the rest of the team as we bumped in there at the Inside the NBA talking about Paul George's comments after the Clippers were bounced from the playoffs. What is Steve Ballmer going to do with that team? Remember, they move into a new building next year. How does that affect this offseason? Are the Clippers going to possibly shake things up? I don't know. We'll see. Paul George making it clear. There's some reports out there that the Clippers have offered him below the max a couple of times, and a contract offer doesn't look like he's going for that, and he looks to go to free agency. Don't forget, it is Monday. Do you know what that means? That's right. It's the right does. We're going to hit these a little bit later. It's when we spin the wheel. Those are the things that I either saw last weekend or this weekend that just made me go, no. So we're going to hit those as well. We can talk about the Lakers coaching situation. There's some news on that. I want to break that down a little bit. The national media has had a day with that. Did you catch the Tom Brady roast? Netflix live. Did you happen to see it? There was some good moments. There was some really good moments from it. Also some awkward moments. Not going to lie. Little surprised at that one. There was a joke that was made about Robert Kraft, and Tom kind of gave him the, don't do that again. Planned, not planned roast. Would you do a roast? I mean, Tom Brady, for one of the guys that was more quiet off the field at times, he's now becoming, or at least trying to become, a Peyton Manning has been the best, him and Eli, at transitioning off the field. I mean, he was a micromanager on the field. Could you imagine working for Peyton Manning? I mean, he'd come to the line and he'd tell every lineman what to do every play. Oma. You guys get my point, but he is one of the funnier guys. I don't know if Tom Brady's going to make that transition that well. And Tom Brady going into the #1 spot on Fox Sports. So I don't know how I feel about that either. Greg Olsen does a pretty damn good job. So we can talk about the Brady roast. Like I said, that's just the tip of it. I also, Bobby Marks, you've heard that name a few times here on the King's Court. He's a NBA front office insider. He was in the front office with the Nets for a while, arguably not a great job done there, but regardless, he knows his basketball. And we listened to him, I believe it was last week. Yeah, it was Monday. We talked about the clarification on the Kings and their draft pick, what they can do, what they can't do with it. Well, Bobby Marks each offseason comes up with his offseason guides. He came out with his Kings offseason guide. So I thought we could go through those today. We can listen to some of that and get your reaction, see if we have anything to add to it. I have not listened to it yet, so you're going to get my live reaction on it. And as I said, I want to hear from all of you. If you're watching on Twitter, if you're watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. I know you can only do that on YouTube, or give us a like. Also, like I said, you can call the show, take a picture of that QR code, or it is in the chat. It's the first message, I believe, and you can come up and call the show. You know what? We will break format for calls. And this guy, he comes in here just about every day. We'll let him kick off the week. Condog, what's up, my man?
What's up, Ryan? And I really enjoyed that clip earlier of Shaq and Charles, talking about if you're that guy, be that guy. Because that's something I always talk about too. If you're that guy, be that guy. You can't go down like that.
It's kind of... I don't mind the candidness from Paul George, but it's probably not the best time for that type of candidness. Maybe the podcast, or maybe you give somebody an exclusive halfway through the summer before your free agency. But it was a little weird. It almost felt like he feels disrespected from that organization.
Well, I mean, hey, you're LA. You want the spotlight on you. That comes with the price, man.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem that he's had, and some of the Clippers have had, and certainly the Kings, inconsistency. I mean, I think it was game 2 of that series. My goodness, Paul George had a game. But yeah, I get the point. And that's a name, Condog, that certainly is probably going to get bumped around here in Sacramento, although I don't know how the Kings could really afford that.
Yeah, we would have to somehow move some pieces for just nothing at all, just to create cap room, maybe some second rounder or something, but just to get rid of the piece so we could sign. And even then, if we do that and we don't get the sign, then we just have cap room and no third star or whatever we're looking for.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I think the Kings are going to be more aggressive than we think, and I think the shoe's going to drop on Malik Monk fairly soon. There's some reports. I've heard some rumblings of the Magic also being interested in Klay Thompson. And if that's the case, and Klay wants to go to the Magic for an MLE, that makes the decision much harder for Malik Monk, because the situations to me out there, maybe the Spurs is a decent one, don't seem to be that great.
Yeah, those MLEs, man, they work well. And if Klay Thompson wants to leave, the Magic of Golden State for the Magic of Orlando, we could see how that works. But I really think they need a big who can space the floor, like maybe a Clint Capella or something like that. The Magic's need, which is also kind of like what we need as well, is a big like a Clint Capella that could space the floor as well. Very similar needs. We also want to keep Monk, and them wanting a Monk or a 2-card, very similar needs.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so, Condog. I'm looking forward to see how it all shakes out, my friend. We will lower the volume. Sorry about that, Matthew. Sound drops are tricky with when you're running. You probably know this, when you're running a mixer and all that. So yeah. I am still trying to get that dialed in, doing our best here, but thanks for the feedback, buddy. Appreciate that.
Oh, so, yeah. When you're adding outside sound from your own mic, yeah, who knows what can happen.
Everything's a little bit different for sure, but we're learning that landscape, as is many other digital creators these days. So I got to ask you before I let you go, did you see anything this weekend that made you just go,
no? I don't think so. I was at work. There wasn't too much problems, but I mean, I was excited for this Timberwolves Nuggets series, and I can't wait for tonight, and I can't wait for this Pacers Knicks series as well.
Yeah, I think they are going to be fun series. Speaking of the Pacers and the Knicks, it's going to be the battle of wills. Or which team? The Knicks are going to be physical, or the Pacers are going to run them off the court. It's going to be one or the other. I don't know. The Knicks, I just don't see Condog with a 7-man rotation, them being able to hang any other way than winning with that physicality.
Well, yeah, they have to, and they got a lot of hustle guys out there like Josh Hart. That man's all over the court. That's a perfect Tibbs guy right there.
Yep.
You got Mitchell Robinson, a tough defender. Anunoby, another tough defender. Brunson just willing to drive and get to the line. And then on the other end, you got Pacers. They got Siakam, who's been there, and they got Tyrese, a willing distributor. They got some good shooters. So there might be some games where the Pacers blow them out, but there might be tough fought battles where the Knicks win a close one, like a 98-95. I think we're going to get a little bit of both in this one.
Yeah, I think you'll see a little bit of offensive explosion, but yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Can you keep the Pacers? I think if the Knicks can keep the Pacers under 110, they win the series. But that is a very tough ask with the way they're playing Miles Turner, Hallie, and everybody else.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I think we're going to see a lot more 90s style basketball, with the Knicks,
Yep.
Hardcore under 100, maybe one dude over 30, and that's about it.
I agree, my friend. Well, hey, thanks for lobbing the call. Hope you have a great rest of the night.
So
you got
the parlay.
Yes, that's coming at the end of the show.
Okay, end of the show. Okay.
Yeah, that is at the end of the show because it was much closer than I thought it was going to be. But one person was the clear winner, and the golf score mattered there. So, anyways, I got you, brother. Have a great rest of the day.
All right, I'll be listening.
All right, buddy. Condog checking in as always. Love having him on the show. So, the T-Wolves, they looked tough. And Denver is having a problem with starting the game. They're having slow starts. Now, granted, they're good enough to grind back, but you can't have, if you're having a slow start, Jokic, 7 turnovers, that's way too many for him. And the fact that they forced 7 turnovers was surprising. The other thing, Jamal Murray, I know not every player is going to be 100% this time of year, but he missed some practice leading into the series. And after his game 1 performance, you got to wonder if anything is going on there. Adam hopping in. If we do re-sign Monk, what sense does it make for us to be paying him and Huerter comparable money for the same position? Gotta think the Kings try and move Kevin, assuming part of the deal is Monk starts. Well, yeah, but it's a two-way street. That's the thing, Adam. We talk about it all the time. The Kings are not just going to give Kevin Huerter away. And the economy in the NBA in terms of demand changes on a daily basis. You know what happens. Sometimes a guy goes down. Sometimes something happens. You get a long suspension. There's a personal issue. Look at Andrew Wiggins this year with the Warriors. Look tonight, Rudy Gobert. He's listed as questionable because he is expecting a child. So things happen here and there. Now, I know that's not going to make the team pull the trigger to acquire a player, but Kevin Huerter might not be desirable this summer, might not be desirable, the first couple months of the season, but come, that January, December time, what if there's a really good team, or at least a really good team on paper that's underperforming and the payroll's through the roof? Well, at that point, are you looking to make moves to bring in less salary, yet bring in someone that can be somewhat competitive? You could also waive him. You get what I'm saying? So, I think you probably can exist with them on the same team making that kind of money. But again, I don't think Monk is a part of this team's long-term plan if they can get him back. If they can get him back, that is the big if C-Dog, the Anthony Edwards, Michael Jordan comparisons made me react like that. React like what? You didn't like him? You did like him? I'm not opposed to them. Now, he's not Michael Jordan, but the way he plays the game's pretty damn close. Grown man stealing a home run ball from a teenager. Yes, I did see that, Adam. And at first, I thought it was going to be that Zach Hampel guy. You know, Zach Hampel kind of gets a bad rap, but if you watch his YouTube videos, and you could say it's kind of a baggy thing that you count all the baseballs that you have and you do what you do. But, you know, when he got Alex Rodriguez's, I believe it was the 3,000th hit, I want to say. 3,000, was it 3,000th hit? Yeah. And it was a home run ball, obviously. You know, like he kind of said, I'm going to keep it. I want to keep it. I don't know what I want to do with it. And then he ultimately worked with the franchise and got a bunch of money donated, 6 figures donated to a charity that was really close to him. So there's some good stuff he does as well. But yeah, if you're at a ball game, come on. And adults who bring mitts to ball games? No, not a good look. Now, if you got a kid with you, that's different. But if you're just an adult going in to take a ball game, I would rather have you do the scorer's book and eat some peanuts, because it gets a little aggressive. The adults that get aggressive for these balls, like the guy that Adam is talking about, did you see the look on the guy's eye? Or like, there was not even a sense or a hesitation that you just ripped a ball from the kid. In fact, it was just pure excitement, pure ecstasy. He couldn't believe he got a ball. Well, how could you be so freaking surprised to get a baseball if you brought a mitt to the game? Just asking. I mean, isn't the expectation to catch a baseball if you bring a mitt? So good job by you, Adam. C-Dog dude, or Condog hopping back in. Kevin is hurt. And okay, Kevin's not damaged goods. I don't like that, Condog. I do not like that. I don't. He's injured. He went on record. In fact, Jason Anderson of the SAC B did a piece. Kevin said it was the worst year of his career, both on and off the court. And I'm paraphrasing. He's had shoulder issues in the past. So you got to look at how he's going to bounce back from this. Is he going to be a different player? Is he going to be a better player? I don't know. What I do know is I liked the energy of Kevin Huerter coming off the bench. Now, I get you don't want to pay that much to a bench guy, but if the Kings don't have any other option and he's healthy and he's doing all right, I don't think it's a huge deal. Kevin and Barnes plus a second for Caruso. No, I don't like that. C-Dog didn't like them. Even Ant himself shot them down. Yeah, of course. Who's going to do that other than LeBron James? Yeah, but C-Dog, you watch a lot of basketball. Name me another throwback two guard that plays that. And I said it on this show last week. It's somewhere in between a Vince Carter meets Michael Jordan meets Kobe Bryant. Now, he doesn't have he wasn't more skilled than all those guys, but you can pull a little something from all three of those that are in his game. And he's so damn young. In fact, I don't even know if he realizes how good he is. It's scary. Flores, I read somewhere that there are only a handful of playoff starters over 30, like a total, like 6 total right now. Young man's league. You know what? What have we said? Player development, Flores. That's where this league is turning. Player development. Someone should have thrown him back on the field, right? Where was the Good Samaritans in the stands? I caught a ball one time at a River Cats game, and I gave it to my brother immediately. You know, that's what you do. Like, I love seeing people go out of their way to get baseballs, but anybody, or give baseballs to their kids, but once you hit that level where you're switching gear at the game, and I know that's a Hampel thing, it's a little bit over the top. But again, now, see, you know what, dude? You need to come on this show because it's been so long since you and I have chatted. I don't think so. I don't like it. You think he's like a Zach LaVine? I don't see it. I mean, a little bit, but Zach LaVine he's not that explosive. Not like Anthony Edwards. He's not a threat inside like he is. So I talked about Bobby Marks, and we're going to get back to your comments here in a little bit. But Bobby Marks released his Kings off-season guide. And I thought it was I don't know. I think it's going to be good. I mean, I haven't listened to it yet. I like to save that stuff for obviously live so you get a good reaction from me. But Bobby Marks, I respect what he has to say. He does a lot of local media. So that is good, but he knows what he's talking about in many senses. So I want to take you to his off-season guide for the Sacramento Kings. And apparently, this was like the most requested episode that he wanted. This is credit to NBA on ESPN. Here's Bobby Marks. We'll listen to it in portions and then react. And I want your guys' reaction as well.
And David Griffin in New Orleans said it like, man, we can't be complacent. All right. Like, everyone is coming. Memphis is coming. Houston's coming. We'll see what San Antonio eventually will be coming. So I think you have to look at a big picture. Was it a step back? I would say yes. Is it doom and gloom? No. I think it's certainly fixable in-house. That was one of the big questions that I raised within the article. And I said, listen, whenever you're the 3 seed and then you lose, not even in the playoffs, but in the play-in, do you have to ask internal questions as far as has this roster plateaued? And I think, you go from the top ranked offense a year ago to 13th this year. You did make a little bit of an increase defensively, from 24th to 16th. You focused on the continuity route last offseason when you used cap space to renegotiate Domantas Sabonis and you brought back Trey Lyles.
Let's talk about that for a second really quick, because this is becoming a bigger and bigger topic amongst Kings fans. It's just that you used some of that cap room last year to extend Sabonis, to pay Sabonis. Could that cap room have been used somewhere else to get another piece? Certainly, as Bobby said, Trey Lyles re-signed. That was a big piece. Trey signed for a fairly small contract in my eyes. I thought that was a pretty darn good deal. But looking back on this season now and looking at the way the playoffs are shaking out and stylistically how the refs are allowing guys to play, especially in that New York series, the refs are basically, unless it is a clear hack foul, you might not get the whistle right now, which I'm fine with. We've said it. It's the throwback basketball. It's the 90s. I'm cool with it. But getting back to the Kings this last season, for me, it's like, okay, you use that cap room somewhere else. Now, I'm not saying that person, whoever it is that you could have brought in, is going to make you 5 games better, 6 games better. Not anything like that, but how may it have changed things? And let's assume that player was healthy. How would that have possibly changed things for the Kings with Monk going down, with Herter going down? Could that have made things a little bit easier on them? Because the thing that's hard for me, and I know Baki is explained this very well from overseas, it's just this. If the Kings would have made it into the playoffs this year, even with the inconsistencies that we had been seeing, the Kings were actually trending in the right direction. The record at the end of the season doesn't say that, but they were also in the 2-minute report 3 times in 6 games. So ultimately, the onus is on the Kings for putting themselves in a position where a couple of bad calls put you where you don't have an opportunity. I'm not going to say the rest cost the Kings a win. They cost the Kings an opportunity to win in those games because there's no telling if the Kings would have finished the job. So it's the bad losses you point to, but if the Kings had that extra piece, a little bit of extra depth, maybe that means Keon Ellis doesn't grow the way that he did and get the opportunity does. And The growth is something that I am going to continue harping on. I am tired, or I'm sorry if you are tired of it or you start getting tired of it. And by the way, we're up to 121 live on the King's Court. I love it. Thank you all for being here. I love it. I want to get to these comments. Got some more of them right now. But again, you don't have the bad losses. You've got that extra guy. The growth now with Jordan Slauson, Mason Jones, maybe to a degree. I don't see Mason elevating the way Slauson can, but I love Mason, his game, his energy, everything about that. And we'll do some breakdowns on some of those Stockton guys that you saw a little bit in Sacramento this year. We did Slauson last week. We'll do Mason Jones this week, and then we'll do Colby after that, because I think Colby is a really important one that a lot of people continue pointing to. All right, so let's get some of these comments in here before we go back to Bobby Marks. Let's see. If you want to chat Backlash today, let's do it. Yeah, dude, what about that crowd, Adam? That crowd was incredible. I don't want to do a big wrestling thing today, but yeah, very, very good crowd the other night. Seems like fans are ready to trade the injured guys who are on a down year, but maybe worth waiting or trading at a better point. Yeah, Matthew, what's the rush? You know, that's the thing. It's what you can get ultimately in the long run that matters. So you got to weigh the market. It's just like if you're trying to sell your car. Do you want a quick buck? Do you want to go to CarMax and just be clean of it? Don't have to deal with private parties. Don't have to go through the hassle of letting the buyer take it to their mechanic, yada, yada, yada. Or do you want to just be done with it? And I think the Kings want to find somewhere right in the middle there. And so I think the confusing part to me is you talk about guys, we've been down and ready to trade them on a down year. I think, you know, the first question most people were asking about Harrison Barnes's contract when that shoe dropped last year at the start of free agency, how soon can we trade him? That was the question. So I just think people are ready for a change. And I think really Herter, to a degree, and Harrison Barnes are kind of the scapegoats there, right? Because they're the two pieces that you hear the most about. What's up, Mr. Moss? Time out. Salute, buddy. Hope you are having a great Monday. Manny, welcome into the King's Court. Every team in the Tough West got better, but the Kings basically kept the same crew. Yes, they did. Let's see. People want up. We already got to, yeah, Isaac. I don't know. Is this the Los Angeles Kings NHL show? Yeah, this is the one, buddy. In fact, we've got some callers on hold that we're going to get to in a few minutes. And I think one of them's Toby. Toby, you haven't heard from Toby. I know he calls your show sometimes, right, Horace? C-Dog, do we even have the capital to make a big move? Maybe. Talk about that on the backside. Crowd was wild. Yes, Adam's going nuts over the WWE. Indeed. Don't you need a glove so you can get so you don't get brained? Would you say brained? What's brained? That's a new one. Brained? Is that what the kids say for getting hit in the head now? No. If you're sitting that close to the field, you've got the nets around you, but you do need to keep a heads up. It is a good point, but no, you don't need to bring a glove for that. It's what a popcorn container's for. That's what a beer's for. You know this. Bobby Marks continues.
You traded for Chris Duarte. You focused. Harrison Barnes signed that extension right before June 30th, and the goal was to basically roll back this group, make a couple tweaks, and hopefully you can solidify yourself in the top four. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, whether it be the offense kind of stagnating, whether it be the multitude of blown games. There's a lot of different reasons here. Now, so you go into the offseason here. You've got the 13th pick in a draft. That would have gone to Atlanta if it was picks 15 to 30. So you have 2 picks in the top 45. You've got 13 in either 44 or 45 to add to your roster. What do you do with that pick? You are allowed to trade that pick come the night of the draft. Although you owe Atlanta a protected top 12 protected first in 2025, it's got protection in 2026. You are allowed to move that pick come the night of the draft. I do think where their salaries are going, where Sacramento's salary is going, a guy on a rookie scale contract, a 4-year rookie scale contract has value based on your salaries. And
boom, right there for you. It does have a lot of value. So it becomes, and I told you earlier, I told you late last week, the Kings are headed to the scouting combine in Chicago soon. The NBA released the 72 guys that will be at the combine. I'm not going to name them off here. You can go look them up. But that's why I say so much about the player development. Think about what the Kings can do if they're able to develop some of that talent within. And we're not talking about developing superstars, although that's the ideal, that's the goal. We're talking about developing guys that can step in and play minutes when needed. We're talking about having a bench where if the second unit isn't humming and the starters are struggling, Mike Brown doesn't have to turn to his assistants and be like, oh, let's see, Sasha, well, I don't know. Well, what do you think about, I don't know. Well, we could go JaVale, I don't know. It can be an automatic, get Jalen in. You know those guys are ready and developed enough to play for this team, and contract-friendly guys are very friendly to a team's success because it allows you, Condog or Sea-Dog just brought up this question, do the Kings have enough money, enough capital to make a big move? And the answer is no. They can't make it. And that's kind of the theme of getting comfortable, being uncomfortable this offseason. If the Kings were going to make a big move, that means one of the big 3 are probably involved in that. Now, I suppose you could do a sign and trade with Malik Monk, but what's the advantage of Malik Monk doing that? I mean, you would only be depleting the team that Malik would be going to. And I think because he wants to win and he wants to start, he's going to want a full deck to play with. So I don't see how that necessarily works out. Bobby Marks continues.
I'm not going to get into Phoenix right now. And that's where I would disagree with Matt Ishbia, where basically he already put 2024 and 2031 up for grabs as far as saying, is there a better player out there that we can get? The draft class, as below average as it is, what you get at 13 is better than what you can go out and sign for the veteran minimum here. That's the reality here. You have that player for 4 years. You do not have to do the minimum game every year. But everyone has their own way about doing it. I know we went on a Phoenix tangent here, and we're talking about Sacramento. Of course, your big focus is going to be on Malik Monk. That is the focus as far as what happens, where you are free agency-wise. He is one of, you've got Malik Monk, you've got Alex Len, you've got JaVale McGee, you've got Kessler Edwards, who could be a restricted free agent if you are going to tender him a qualifying offer by June 29th. I thought Monk was the top 6th man of the year.
And so did all of us. We thought Malik was the 6th man of the year. He should have been the 6th man of the year, but he wasn't. So what Bobby said there was very, very interesting to me. So does that help or does that hurt the Kings' efforts to resign Malik Monk? Think about that. He just said there's not much on the market this free agent season, and that's kind of a problem. Ash, we are announcing it at the end of the show. The results are here, buddy, but we will be announcing the winner of the parlay at the end of the show. But Bobby brings up a great point. Does that drive up the market for Malik Monk? Is a team willing to pay the extra money? They're back today. The Ritos are back today, Athena. If you got one, get it in. John, welcome to the party. It's all right. good to be a little bit late. I don't mind that. Happy to have you here. We're talking Kings. Listen to Bobby Marks, what he had to say about the Kings offseason guide, what he thinks they should do. And really, the big things we've taken from it so far is number one, they need to hit on their draft pick, and they probably need to keep it. And look at what the Warriors did with their draft last year. They hit really well with similar spots. I think it was 17 and 57, if I'm not mistaken. 17 and 57. So the Kings, 2 picks in the top 45. That brings you the value in terms of the 4-year. The rookie scale now, that's going to be your first round pick. That's going to be that 4-year deal. So what position do the Kings target? And does the beat on Malik Monk and what he does have any bearing on how the Kings approach this draft? All questions that we're going to have to wait and see, but love to get your thoughts on those. You know, you have an owner that I just don't think wants to spend that money. And quite frankly, here's the other thing that we don't think about. We're not too far removed from COVID, okay? And that year that was missed, basically, for NBA owners, for small market owners like Vivek, that hurt. The Kings still had some catching up to do, reportedly, in terms of operating income and what was coming in and operating at a loss. I mean, think about how many home games were missed that year. You remember people were asking, well, why is the bubble coming back? It doesn't make sense. And I know we were all hungry for basketball, just sport in general. I know me, I saw cornhole on TV that was live. I'm like drooling at the mouth, right? Well, the regional sports network. So for us, NBC Sports California, I don't know. I think Spectrum is down with LA and the Lakers, but they have contracts. The regional sports teams do with all of the teams, and there's a minimum number of games that they have to get. And if they don't get that number of games, guess what happens? Contract is null and void, which means a huge chunk of money that the Kings count on would not have been there. Well, I'm not going to say that's why the bubble happened, but that certainly was a push to get the bubble up and going so those numbers would be hit. They would at least play enough games to satisfy the number for the regional sports contracts. So Vivek, I mean, maybe if it was the perfect situation, and I mean the perfect situation where the Kings have the coach of the future, the Kings, Keegan Murray's an all-star, De'Aaron Fox is an all-star, Sabonis is an all-star, Malik Monk is still here. Hell, maybe he's an all-star. I don't know. You're not going to have four all-stars. You know that. But in that sense, maybe for like half of a season where you get a rental, you get an expiring contract, you go big and you try to make that championship push. But outside of that, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't, unfortunately. And I get the frustration. I mean, the Maloofs for a long time, they were towards the bottom of the league in salary. So does what you pay affect the product on the court? Certainly. It's business 101. But I get it. You want to see, I think it would make the fan base happy to see the owner all in, because the owner really, he says he's all in, and I don't want to criticize him. He hasn't done anything to show he's not. He amongst other people, Kevin Johnson, Grant. Speaking of Grant, he'll be back at 5:00 for an open forum show. Make sure you come back for that. That will be open forum with Grant at 5:00 here on If You Don't Like That. I just think it's just not him. It's not him. So I hope I'm wrong, but I think it would go a long way with many of you if he was able to or willing to do that. Connor, good to see you in here. I know We've missed Sea-Dog. It is good to see a familiar face. Luca just injured Monk because they got their 10 pick last year, and he wanted to return the favor to, yeah, I don't think so. That's more of a, I don't know, wrestling storyline. Dude, John, special. Put the team on his back on a game or in a game 7. Special. Yes. Very special. We'll talk about him some more in a little bit. Bobby Marks continues.
Well, how do you go about splitting up that cap space? Maybe you go Monk, Miles Bridges, bring back Lowry, Batum, Melton, that group there, Kelly Oubre. So that's kind of where the landscape is. Where Malik Monk is. I think his price range is right where that $17, $18 million number where Sacramento can offer that. However, if a team comes in and gives him a 4 for 100, I think you're going to probably kiss him goodbye. He can't do a 1-year deal with early bird. It's got to be a minimum of 2 years. Even if you put a player option in the second year, it's got to be minimum of 2 years as far as when you look at Malik Monk. I think the biggest X factor in Sacramento is Keegan Murray taking that next big jump. We saw it in the Golden State game, the playing game, him basically explode and shoot the heck out of the ball from 3. But where you are roster-wise, and if you bring back Monk, and certainly you keep the core group together and you're not going to make wholesale changes, you've got to develop Murray into a consistent, 20 to 22 point score. It's almost like where Michael Porter Jr. is right now, and I know Porter Jr., this is year.
I don't know. Are we putting too much weight into you got to develop Keegan Murray more? Keegan Murray has to take the next step. If you forced me to jump on one side of that argument, here's what I would say. I would say he made a big jump last year, a really big jump. And I know most of it was defensive. Offensive, though, was more of a jump than I expected. Now, the lulls that Bobby Marks is talking about are fair, but how much of that is on Keegan Murray and how much of that is actually on Coach Brown and the system or on the guys for not getting Keegan a little bit more involved? Look, he's played 2 years in the NBA. You have guys in that starting lineup that have played way more time than them. Or more than Keegan. So I do hold some responsibility with those players. They know enough to know, hey, if we're going to win, we got to get him going. And sometimes it's too little too late. So how does that change? Mike Brown talked about making most of the play calls last season. And now this season, he let the guys do most of the play calls. And as we saw, there really wasn't a ton of plays going on. We saw easily, it didn't take a basketball expert to notice when the Kings were running set plays, like Bobby Marks just said. He's referencing the play-in game against the Warriors. It was certainly in the game plan to get Keegan Murray going early. Hey, I appreciate all 148 of you with us here on the Kings Court right now. Really appreciate it. As I said a few minutes ago, Grant will be back at 5 o'clock tonight. He's going to do an open forum show. We were doing one last Thursday and the tech failed him. So that's all dialed in and back to good. And if you haven't already, you can find me on the X at Ryan_in_Sacktown. That is the Kings Court, my daily podcast. We also do the daily live show. We do a shoot around in the morning, get you ready for the daily show. So give it a try. I'm sure you will like it, or at least find a little bit of humor in that. And I know we keep getting the questions about the rye. No. All right. No. Athena, we are going to do our first rye dough of the day. Let's see where it lands. No. fingers. Sticky fingers indeed. All right. Anybody out there on a diet? Raise your hand if you are. Yep, I'm on a diet for sure. I've lost 45 pounds, but I wasn't able to really walk for a good year, almost 18 months. Those that came out to the live shows we did for the playoffs last year, you might have seen me using a cane. Yeah, that's because I had both of my hips replaced. Okay. So now that I got my hip restrictions are lifted, which means I can pretty much do a lot of the stuff I was doing before. That means I'm working out again. I'm walking. I'm eating right. I'm doing all the right things. But, usually like when you diet, it's nice to have a partner that's dieting with you. And in this case, my partner that's dieting with me is all the way in Oregon. So we keep each other accountable there, but I don't live with him. We don't prepare meals together. We don't we talk about what we're eating, what we're doing, what's working, what's not. But, we're not sharing a space. It'd be much easier if we were sharing a space, right? Because then I don't have any bad stuff in the house. But the reality is, I have a 9-year-old, and I'm sure many of you are either on a diet or have dieted in the past, have kids, want kids. Well, there's certain staples you're always going to have in the house. We try our best to cut back in certain places. Cereal, we've replaced it with Magic Spoon. So that way, get a little more protein, less sugar, right? But you're going to have probably some whipped cream in the house, right? You're probably going to have some chocolate syrup in the house. You're probably going to have a container of ice cream somewhere. You're definitely going to have regular syrup. Who doesn't like a good, pancake waffle on the weekend? You get my drift, okay? So when you're the person in the house that doesn't or is choosing not to eat those things, just seeing them, it's like, oh, man, I would love to have some of that, but I can't. Well, what if I had a little bit of that? No, because if I just had a little bit of it, that kind of negates the walk I did. And it's immediately to the buddy or the friend, like, dude, talk me off the ledge. Talk me off the ledge. I can't do it. I know I'm going to hate myself for doing it later, right? And so you go through that whole process and you finally don't eat that stuff. You know what the slap in the face is? That these knuckleheads who get to eat that stuff in front of me, they don't even clean the bottles off. When I go to move the syrup over so I can get my protein powder, the syrup freaking bottle is stuck to my hand because there's syrup all on the outside of it. Same thing with the chocolate syrup. Count the ice cream in too. I go for my tilapia fillets and instead I get a handful of Oreo ice cream box that's stuck there. What's up with that? Are you just trying to rub salt in my wounds? I don't get it. Just wipe the bottle off. I mean, imagine if like I was, I don't know, smashing M&Ms all over your toys and told you couldn't have chocolate. Come on. Come on, don't make me. Look, if I'm going to get to eat it, I don't mind cleaning it. But if I don't get to eat it, you better be cleaning that. That better not be on me. And when I splurge and I actually get something that's kind of in the middle of not good for you, but still good for you, what do? You eat all of those. Because now you want to eat healthy, but here's the problem. You eating that doesn't matter because you had McDonald's earlier today or you ate that. So you guys get my drift. It's when you leave sugary things with a residue still on the outside for somebody else to clean up, especially when somebody is dieting. What is up with that? What's up with that? Wow. Why'd you have to have your hips replaced? I just years of wear and tear. I've told you I played basketball and football my entire life, basketball after high school. And I was told that I had some degenerative disease with the bone, but it was something that we needed to watch. We needed to monitor. What they didn't know was what was causing that was the blood flow to my hips. It was constricted. Barely any blood was getting there. So imagine, you guys know when you like wrap a string around your finger too tight, or a thread, and your finger starts throbbing like that because the blood flow is cut off. Yeah, and that was just the tip of it. So that's why at 39, both of them, well, you on one hip, right? Because it's one big tailbone. But yes, both were replaced. Crazy, huh? 39 years old. But I am a new man because of it. There is no doubt about that. I want to transition really quick and talk about the Lakers, and we're going to get back to the right. Those coming up soon, by the way. We're going to spin that a few more times. And if you have any right dos, let me know, and we'll add them to the wheel. I would love to do that. So Darvin Ham is out as the Lakers coach. We listened to some audio of Stephen A. Smith last week talking about, and we talked to Jerry Reynolds about this as well, right? We said, what's the difference between coaching this guy and coaching a superstar? And Jerry was very candid. He said there's a big difference. You have to manage it differently. Those guys have personalities. And even just being in the NBA, they're grown men. You don't coach them like you coach other kids. So you look at Darvin Ham's resume, and he was a first-time head coach, by the way. First-time head coach. He didn't do bad his first 2 years. He didn't do bad. He dealt with first two personalities that are a little bit hard to handle, but then also he's dealt with AD being out for periods of time. You have to deal with LeBron every day, right? Let's see, Condog popping in. They went to the Western Conference Finals last year and lost to the team that ended up winning it all. I know, and that's the point that I'm making. So Stephen A. Smith continued this morning on the firing of Darvin Ham.
Frank Vogel in 2022. Now, LeBron James has played for 3 different teams and 9 different head coaches in his career. And now the Lakers will be looking for his 10th head coach. Stephen A., I'm going to ask you this. Should Darvin Ham have been fired?
Absolutely not. You got screwed. It was the wrong decision. In 2 seasons, he's going to the Western Conference Finals. He's going to the playoffs twice. They were better this year than they were last year. They just ran into the reigning defending NBA champions. And last year they ran into the best team in basketball who ended up being the champions. That's the only team that's knocked off the Lakers. Is that the cause for being fired? I don't know what to say about that. Listen, no coach is perfect. I'm quite sure folks can point to, things that he could have done differently schematically, rotations, adjustments, play calling. We've heard this about many, many coaches over the years. But my problem is, look at the roster itself. It was problematic. You had shooters who couldn't defend, defenders who couldn't shoot. You're Darvin Ham. You've got to throw and insert guys into the lineup for defensive purposes, and then exchange them for guys with offensive prowess, because that's what you needed. Very few could do both.
And that's fair, right? It's totally fair. But how shocking was the number at the beginning of that? 3. He's been on 3 teams, LeBron James, 9 coaches, 3 teams, 9 coaches. So are the coaches the problem, or is it LeBron James that is the problem? Now, this started a legitimate avalanche of rumors, interest. The first name you hear is JJ Redick, right? And then you start hearing rumblings they may want Ty Lue. Then you start hearing rumblings that they may want Jason Kidd. I want to go to Dave McMenamin. He kind of explains the situation best. And I think the Lakers, should they go this route, I think it's one of 2 routes they can go. But I think this is the best action. Here is Dave McMenamin.
Well, Scott, the Lakers coaching pendulum has swung from a young guy in Luke Walton to an experienced candidate in Frank Vogel. Then the first-time head coach in Darvin Ham. I'd expect the pendulum to swing back towards an experienced candidate this summer as they look to fill the spot. And you look to the news that came out after Darvin Ham was dismissed on Friday. That's an indicator that it will be an experienced guy. The Lakers parted ways with the rest of Darvin Ham's staff. And of course, LeBron James's opinion will be taken into consideration here, but not just LeBron James. Anthony Davis as well, I'm told. And the team kind of looks as Anthony Davis is finally taking the torch from LeBron in the last season and a half. While LeBron could still have the time to kind of process the end of this season as he decides his future with the team, they have another voice and another leader in Anthony Davis, whose opinion they will take under consideration.
So neither of those things surprises. I guess the bigger surprise there is that the Lakers feel AD is kind of taking that torch from LeBron. I don't think, yeah, I got you, Adam. That's exactly where I was going. Yeah, if you call playing more games than you've played in the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 seasons, yes, you've taken that torch. AD was on the floor much more than he has been in the past, but it's not clear to me that AD's the leader of that team. In fact, it's not even evident to me that he's a leader of that team, maybe a little bit through his play, but I don't know. So I keep talking about 2 different options. Dave McMenamin says they're going to look for an experienced guy. That is usually what happens when, and yes, Condog, I will give you first rights. By the way, Condog basically said everything one of the guys said just a little bit ago. I think it was Stephen A. Smith. But Budenholzer, for sure, that would be a decent choice. But it started a reaction, right? There are a couple guys who are currently or were coaching at the moment, but getting questions. For instance, Tyronn Lue about his interest in the Lakers job.
I hope so. I hope so. Like, I didn't come here to bounce around and, go all over the place. And, Mr. Balmer, Lawrence, Mark, Trent, Gillian, they've all been great to me, and this is where I want to be. And hopefully they feel the same way, and so no bet, I haven't had a better experience, since I've been here. Mr. Balmer showed me a lot of different things that I wouldn't be privy to if I wasn't here, and Lawrence being an ex-coach who actually knows the game, who actually can talk, basketball, offense and defense, and understand the game. And so that's really good for me as well. Trent Redden, who I've been with, I was in Cleveland, I won a championship with, so we have a great relationship. And Mark Hughes, he actually coached.
So you get my point. Tyronn Lue wants to remain where he is at. Okay, so to be fair, let's clear this up really quick. C-Dog, I used to call you Condog all the time. So it's really hard for me. I have 2 Condogs now. And one, by the way, C-Dog, you don't know this. Grant calls Condog Corn Dog. Long story. Anyways, I will be better. So it wasn't just Tyronn Lue. Then the name came up, Jason Kidd. Would there be any interest in Jason Kidd taking over in LA? And I almost laughed when I heard that, because I don't see Jason Kidd and LeBron James meshing at all. I think those personalities are way too strong, especially behind the scenes, which leads me to my next point. Yes, corn dogs are yummy. Condog, you brought one to the show. I know. Anyways, Budenholzer, as C-Dog mentioned, I think that's a good choice. But here's another thought, and I seriously mean this. I am not shooting from the hip here, and I don't know if he would even want to. Why not make LeBron the player coach? Give me some reasons. Why not do the Bill Russell thing? Make him a player coach. You can put you can have strong assistants, right? because really the head coach of the Lakers is really just that, the assistant coach. LeBron is the coach of that team. LeBron's the coach of damn near any team he plays on. Why has he played for 9 different coaches in 3 stops? See? So I don't know why the Lakers wouldn't give it a serious thought. I mean, I don't know. It just, you're setting yourself up. If LeBron James has 2 years left in this window, right? 2 years to play because he's 41 now. Give him 2 years of player coach. He's not going to play Bronny a ton. He probably will draft Bronny, but what's it going to hurt? In fact, wouldn't it probably help the friction in that locker room between, because the players most times are going to take LeBron's side, right, over the coach's side. So doesn't that eliminate any of those problems that we inevitably see? You saw it in the playoffs where LeBron literally was stomping his feet on the ground like a child calling for a review, and the coach didn't do it. And I did a take joking around like the refs ignored the Lakers coach, acting like LeBron was the coach. But I think it's an option. It sounds crazy, sounds far-fetched, but why not? I haven't seen a good reason as to why not. Why not? Matthew, nothing screams entitled like assuming you can get a coach that is on another team that's doing well. Exactly right. Are there any assistants who you would be willing? Let's see. Is there any assistants who would be willing to be the assistant to a player coach? I don't know. I'm sure there would be, but and you would have to put some boundaries there, right? There would certainly have to be boundaries, checks and balances. If the organization trusts LeBron as much as they do, and the fact that they are willing to they have handed him the keys to the castle, I just think it's an option that nobody's talking about. And yes, I do think you could get some assistance. LeBron's looking to get, I would say, a younger guy. You see him targeting JJ Redick. You see, even with this hire of Darvin Ham, that was, we'll go after a first-time coach, kind of like the Steve Kerr thing, and see if it works out. Well, it didn't. So you're either going established, which that's the way it's looking, or make LeBron your player coach and let him fill out the bench. Have you guys heard that anywhere else? Is this the first time this is coming up? And yes, I think it would also be a good opportunity. I could see LeBron bringing female assistants on, and I know there's female assistants across the league. I mean, Lindsey Harding, G League Coach of the Year for your Stockton Kings. There's some good coaches out there. What are your thoughts on the whole Bronny situation? The guy is not NBA ready, but the intrigue of getting LeBron, if you take him, here's the deal. It's part of his compensation. If you're going after LeBron James, if you're going after him, you have to figure in a second-round draft pick as if it was going to a different team if you were trading for LeBron. It's just part of that compensation. So I think that if you're a franchise that used a first-round pick on Bronny, that is just insanity at this point of LeBron's career. Now, if this situation would have happened when LeBron made the decision the first time to leave Cleveland and go to Miami, let's say Bronny was going to be in that draft, you bet your bottom dollar there would have been some GMs out there that would have drafted Bronny with the first pick. I don't think he's NBA ready. I don't think a lot of the stuff you hear about, well, his game doesn't translate to college as much as it does to the pros. No, it has nothing to do with his game. This kid almost died on a basketball court. He almost died. I mean, that's not something you just bounce back from and you get back to normal. So, it's kind of, to me, more than anything, it's ensuring that Bronny will have been a draft pick, number one, and it's ensuring that LeBron would be the first player in the history of the NBA to be on the same team as his son and play at the same time. LeBron going to start Melo, Wade, Bronny himself at AD. He's smart enough not to do that. Adam coming back at me. Would LeBron get extra money for doing that? Yes, I've heard this rumor as well. I didn't even know it was a rumor. I just it was my thought. It's funny that it's out there as a rumor. So other people are thinking it as well. Yeah, he would probably get paid a little bit more, or maybe he waives that. I don't know. They would work something out. I agree. Thank God Bronny wasn't available to be drafted for the decision. LeBron would have been a bad dad at like 6 years old. Yeah, I'm not going to call him a bad dad. He seems to be a pretty good father to his kids. And for a guy that has as much focus as he does on him, he does keep his name out of trouble. And it would be really easy for people to dig some of this stuff up on these guys. All right, let's go back to the ride dope wheel. We did the sticky fingers. And remember, if you have ridos, you got to let me know. We can add them to the wheel. And as long as I think they're okay and good enough, we will add them to the wheel. So we certainly have to take the sticky fingers down. You are gone. Let's spin the wheel and see what we come up with. No. Pizza Bell closing in Elk Grove. All right. Well, if you're looking for some humor here, you're not going to get it. Unfortunately, this one hurt. This one was a shot to the gut. Anybody that's from Elk Grove, anybody that's been or lived in Elk Grove for any amount of time, whether it's 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, going back even further than that, there was one pizza place called Pizza Barn. There was a Round Table Pizza. And I don't even, the Round Table Pizza was new to me, but I'm taking it off of Haunted Horse's information. So if Haunted Horse said there was a Round Table Pizza there was. So you had Round Table, and then Pizza Bell shows up, right? And then after Pizza Bell, there's this other place, Papa Murphy, or not Papa Murphy's, Papa's Pizza. Papa's Pizza, by the way, supplied all the pizza for Elk Grove High School when I went there. But it was either Papa's Pizza or Pizza Bell that you were always at after a youth football game, youth basketball game. They would have, it's nothing special. It really isn't. It was just a pizzeria on the corner. But it's, if you played sports as a kid in Elk Grove, that's probably where your party was at after the season for trophies. It was the tried and true pizza place, local pizza place of Elk Grove, of old school Elk Grove, I will say. And it absolutely broke my heart. This was on the wheel last week that they closed. Their last day was last Saturday. And so we went in one last time to get a pizza and say farewell, pay our condolences. They still have another location that's out in Wilton. That one's going to stay open. But there's going to be a new pizza place coming to where Pizza Bell was at. But for me, it was especially hard. Pizza Bell has a certain taste. It has their crust and sauce is just different. It's really good. You either like it or you don't. But it wasn't just the sports stuff. It's where we spent like our minimum days, the all-you-can-eat buffet. If we got out of school early, that was the hangout place. They had the cool games. It was centrally located to where our parents trusted us. So it was really hard, and I was really sad to see them go. And I just want to publicly say thank you for the memories, Pizza Bell. I know times got a little tight towards the end, but you guys kept chugging, and they at least stuck around long enough for my son to get to have the same experience at Pizza Bell and take his picture out front like he always likes to do. So bittersweet, Rye. Pizza because we lost our Pizza Bell. All right, let's get back to the chat and then we'll get ready to wrap up here in a few minutes. If you have something that bugged you about the weekend, let us know. So some people, you never said bad. Let's see. Not sure if you already spoke on this, but what do you think the impact of Jordy Fernandez leaving looks like for the Kings next year? I don't think it's going to be too dramatic. I don't think it's going to be anything you notice. I know that he was the defensive, I don't want to say mastermind, but for as much as Luke Laux is the shooting skilled kind of practice focus guy, I would say that Jordy really led a lot of those defensive scouting plans, but I know that obviously it's Coach Brown's system. So I think Jordy's going to do really well. He relates well to the players. You've seen what he's done as the coach of the Summer League team for the Kings and also as the coach of the Canadian national team. Adam, Jim Boys is already coming up. Hanging by a thread. So we still have Jim Boys here. Jim Boys is amazing. I know Haunted Horse will definitely chime on this. The people have spoken, Condog. Pizza Bell was no surprise, guys. Bell Brothers. Yes, Sean, it was. And here's the thing. They ran their businesses so different. And that's what was cool. And they didn't run them bad. But yeah, the Bell Brothers, they own Pizza Bell. And it was a surprise to me that they actually sold that Elk Grove location to somebody else. I didn't know that because when we went that last day, I was like, why are you guys closing? Like, I gave them one last second pitch, like I would invest and save the restaurant, which I wouldn't. But they're like, yeah, our new owner, they can't do it. I mean, retail, it's a hard time even for restaurants. And by the way, you can't even you're better off going out to eat at a sit down place than doing fast food because the cost of fast food these days is insane. Like the dollar menu items that used to be on the dollar menu are now like $3. It's nuts. Adam, gotta love a coach like Jordy. Yeah, Jordy's great. And watch out. I'm not saying Brooklyn's going to go after Malik, but Brooklyn could clear up some space if they wanted to. They're at about 155, is either 165 or 155. And the projected cap's 141. So, you know what'll be funny? What will Jordy institute? What's his system going to look like? Because I think that's the most interesting thing to me, because if you do notice, and I know we just had the question if we're going to notice any big things with Jordy gone, if you do notice those things and you notice Brooklyn thriving on similar play sets, similar, plays the Kings would run, then yeah, maybe you can draw a connection and say, well, maybe he meant a little bit more to the Kings than we thought. But you know what? It's part of the NBA. And could Jordy take anybody from the coaching staff? Possibly. That could happen. But Luke Laux has been promoted to front of the bench. And Doug Christie, per Coach Brown, is probably going to be coaching the Summer League. Hey, you're here with Ryan in Sacktown Rhino on the Kings Court Live. We're here with you Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. on If You Don't Like That. We are your place for all things Sacramento sports, getting you ready for your drive home. So happy 186 of you could be with us. And don't forget, Grant's going to be back here at 5 o'clock Pacific with an open forum show. Get in your questions about, you can ask questions about the roast last night. Check the Giants. That was funny. They took some. Tom Brady, he did not hold back on the Giants. I had a take on the roast last night. I'm going to hold off, though, because we're already at an hour 14. All right. We'll do one more. Oh, wait. Hold on. We got to announce the winners. The winners of the parlay are, well, actually, by the way, I just want to be clear. The last person was Dorian. That's right. Dorian won. Dorian got the number closest to, But here's the thing. Because all three of you participated, all three of you win. Everybody that gave me your picks, you are winning Kings Court gear. You're getting Kings Court shirts, and you're also getting stickers. So I will get your information. I know most of you. I can track down Corn Dog. I can track down pretty much everybody on that list. So here's the point of what I'm saying. Participate if you can here on the Kings Court, because we're going to do a lot of free giveaways. We're going to do some fun stuff. I mean, we had the auctions that were all set up. Yep, Finchy. Hey, Finchy, come pick up your shirts, dude. I got 1, 2, 3 shirts waiting for you over there, Finchy. Come get those. You know where I live. But yes, we're going to be doing more giveaways, and I might not announce little things like that, but I like to surprise people. Like Jerry Reynolds. I don't tell you when he's popping up. He just pops up. So, thank you guys for participating in the parlay. We'll get your merch out to you. Let's go back to the Ride Dough wheel one more time, and we will wrap up today's show and give way to Grant coming on here in just about an hour and a half, or just over an hour and a half. Let's take Pizza Bell off the wheel. What are you guys hoping for? What do you think it's going to be? We'll take Pizza Bell off right now. You are gone. Here we go. Let's give it a spin. Okay. Huggy Wuggy. I am not sure if I'm particularly thrilled that Huggy Wuggy came up, because Huggy Wuggy right now is the vein of my existence. Let me tell you about Huggy Wuggy, okay? Here is the beautiful stuffed animal. I mean, really beautiful, so cute. Like, I can't believe somebody didn't think of this thing earlier for kids, but check it out. That is Huggy Wuggy. Yes, Huggy Wuggy. Is that not the creepiest thing you have ever seen? Like, the creepiest. So it's a thing. People carry around these stuffed animals. People have birthday parties centered around Huggy Wuggy. People have Halloween costumes of Huggy Wuggy. Okay, I told you I already don't like clowns. I don't, okay? The lips just remind me of a clown, first off, okay? Second off, look at those teeth. What the hell is going on there? And look at the head. I mean, did somebody say draw the ugliest animal you could think of? And this is what came up? And what's going on with the hands? I mean, he's got an opposable thumb here, but it doesn't look like there's, I don't know. What is he flipping us off? I don't know. And like, are those hooves? Are they feet or hooves? What I'm saying is, why the hell does this thing bring anyone comfort? How does it bring you comfort? This thing scares the daylights out of me. I mean, and I'm not going to lie to you. I keep my little Apple Watch thing here, and I told you about our Marco Polo group. Oh, okay. So we know. So I'm not the only one that's in on Huggy Wuggy. Let's get some updates here as the chat catches up. The feet are the second hands. Okay, so breaking news: Huggy Wuggy's feet are his second hands. Ash, my kid loves that creepy crap too, Ryan. Right? No, it's not great. It is not. Yes, it looks like Five Nights at Freddy's rejected character. What is sweet about this thing? What is lovable about this thing? What is inviting about this thing? Absolutely nothing. So I must ask the question, are our kids trolling us? Are they like legitimately into these things, or is it like we're into it because the thing is so weird and ugly? Whatever the answer is, I don't care. I am legitimately scared of this thing. I really am. I'm thinking about sleeping with a BB gun under my pillow. Like, I don't know if that thing's going to pop out at me. And now my 9-year-old has learned how to do Marco Polo. Oh, you just made that up. All right. Well, good enough. Give us your other thoughts on Huggy Wuggy. My son will send me these creepy videos where it's like, "Hi, Dad, I love you. I hope you're having a good night." And then Huggy Wuggy jumps into the thing, and he's just putting a stuffed animal in front of the camera. But like, this thing doesn't just look at you, like it looks into your soul and it judges you. Like, I don't know. What I do know is it feels like an episode of Seinfeld, the doll episode, where George is just creeped out because the doll looks like his mom. I promise you, Huggy Wuggy does not look like my wife, but the damn doll scares the hell out of me still. So that is my rye. Don't. Like, I just can't deal with it. I can't get rid of this thing. Those Huggy Wuggies, man. So we do have some carryover on the ride Doze, but seriously, it's a great thing to hide in the kitchen cabinet. So Matthew, here's what happened. I did not realize my son's best friend, who lives across the street from us, I didn't realize he was so into this animal, right? And so we went to his birthday party, and the entire thing was Huggy Wuggy themed. And so my first question to his mom was, "How much did you pay to have these custom stuffed animals made? And how the hell did he come up with like that drawing?" And she's like, "No, this is actually a thing." I'm like, "No, that's not a thing," right? And I am actively telling my wife, "Can we make sure we get on the YouTube settings so Liam does not like look at these videos?" Because you don't know the background of these things. You remember Slender Man and that whole thing? Like, you don't know like if this is actually a bad thing online and has some type of other meaning, or if it's just a harmless animal. But even if it is a harmless animal, just like Matthew said, it scares the hell out of people. So we're at the party, and the going away gifts or the parting gifts are Huggy Wuggies for everyone. So the next thing I know, the damn Huggy Wuggy is in my house. There is a Huggy Wuggy on my bed every single night. My son hides it, just like Matthew said, and pops it out at like the most random times. And sometimes he makes me jump. But getting back to the story, Halloween, the boys asked me to take them trick-or-treating. I was more than happy to. I was about 2 months removed from my second hip replacement. So I'm like, yeah, let's go get some steps, right? So I go to pick them up. Get this out. I go to pick them up. His friend is in his costume. Liam's in his costume. And then Liam goes, "Oh, you know what, Dad? I forgot this at home. Can you go back and get it?" No, they're not. And don't worry, I had to watch Killer. Oh no, yeah. Now we're getting off the rails. 2:04 here on the King's Court Live. Thank you so much, Ryan in Sacktown, wrapping up the show with the ride Dose, and we are talking about Huggy Wuggy. Yes, you came to If You Don't Like That for the King's Court and Huggy Wuggy. I hereby hold Huggy Wuggy in contempt. You are no longer allowed in my house. Oh, I'll ask the boss. That's my wife and son to a degree. Just kidding. But no, seriously. So I had to come back to the house, get what my son asked for. And in that time, and it's like it's a 1-minute walk from house to house, my son's friend changed out of his Halloween costume and changed into a Huggy Wuggy costume. Not only that, they all hid. They had 3 different cell phone angles going. And so my wife's in on it. My son's friend's mom is in on it. And then the kid's in on it too. He's got a cell phone in his hand. I ring the doorbell to say, "Okay, guys, time to go." He answers the door in Huggy Wuggy, and they have video of me just about jumping out of my shoes. Like, I legitimately jumped out of my shoes. So, yes, I do not like Huggy Wuggy. Does not sound like everybody here loves Huggy Wuggy as well. But hey, it's been a fun day here on the Kings Court. We have talked about a lot, Kings acquisitions, talked about the free agency market. We heard from Bobby Marks. We didn't get to the Tom Brady roast. We can maybe hit that tomorrow, and we will be back tomorrow. That's right, at 2:00 live right here on If You Don't Like That. Thank you to each and every one of you, 204 joining us live on X and YouTube combined, most of the viewers on X. But thank you so much for your support. And don't forget, Grant will be here on his own solo open forum show starting at 5:00 tonight. So come give him some love. There's going to be plenty, I can promise you, to talk about there with him. So make it a great day, Tedora.
Holy moly, Jimbaboli.
Right? See, that's what I said when I saw Huggy Wuggy. When Huggy Wuggy popped up, I went,
Holy moly, Jimbaboli.
just scared the hell out of me. Go Kings. Light the beam. Court is dismissed.